Hey, it's Jason. Welcome back to Hardy Life Outdoors. I am here at the Lazy H, and I'm going to do a video today on a topic that I've thought about for a while. I see a lot of people ask questions in Facebook groups about at what age is it appropriate to take your kids hunting. And I had what I think is a kind of an interesting experience and revelation as I was introducing my son to hunting, and have some ideas that might help you. Avoid some of the mistakes I made and, maybe take advantage of some of the smart things I did. When people ask that question, how old should my kid be before I take them hunting? There's two really, major things. First is, the environment that your kid has been raised in. What have they been exposed to? And the other is, what are your expectations? And those two things can have a pretty dramatic impact on how things go with your kids. I started hunting when I was, first time I went squirrel hunting with my uncle. I was 10 years old. Prior to that, we had woods behind our house. I spent every minute I could back there in the woods with my BB gun shooting at, this, that, and the other. The neighbor had shot a deer. I'd gone over. I was fascinated by the fact that they had a deer. I hadn't been exposed a lot to hunting, but I'd seen a little bit here and there. You're going to see people that say, I've taken my 3-year-old, and you're going to see people that say, don't take your kid until they're 10 or 12. You're going to get answers all over the board. But when I say it depends what kind of environment they've been raised in, if you've got a family that hunting is part of the tradition, which that's the way my family is, your kids have probably been exposed to it since day one. They've dressed in camo clothes. That weren't really pro hunting, and people that say, "Oh, how could you hurt that poor deer? Oh, Eric, that's such a pretty deer. Why would you ever hurt it?" That potentially creates a situation, creates some conflict for your child. That on one side they've got a parent that's really into hunting, and on the other side they've got somebody that's making them feel bad about the idea of hurting an animal. So, depending on what your child has been exposed to is going to have an impact on, at what age you can do that. From early on, I would get a deer, I'd quarter it up, I'd bring it into the kitchen counter, and while I was cutting it up, he would sit there with a butter knife and he would, cut it up into chunks. So he was used to seeing it. He had seen them hang in the garage. At one point, I called him to tell him I'd got a deer, and he starts chanting on the phone, show me the guts, show me the guts. So he was not going to be grossed out by the whole thing. From an early age, it was, he is going to go hunting with me and be exposed to it. The other side is that question of what are your expectations? And there's a fine line here between it's not really a fine line, it's a major chasm between taking your kid hunting with you and you going hunting with them. And the difference is in, why are you out there? Are you out there because it's the rut and your target buck has been showing up on your trail camera and you're out there really focused on success? Because if you are, you're taking your kid with you. The goal is for you to get your deer, and that's the focus. And chances are that's going to create tension in the blind. It's going to be, sit still, be quiet. The kid wants to leave and it's like, it's still an hour till dark, we can't leave. It's about you at that point. You got to make that decision. Is this about you? Is it about them? I think the best time to take a kid hunting is when it's not about you. Don't take them to your favorite spot. Take them out. I used to take my son out. He'd dress up in camo. He had his blaze orange plastic gun. He would walk through the woods. I usually carried my gun. It was gun season. He'd walk through the woods, climb on logs, climb on rocks, slide on rocks, making all kinds of noise. I had my gun because you just never know. If I got lucky, I would take a shot. But it was really about taking him out there and having a good time with him and him having a positive experience. When we started hunting in a tree stand, I took all kinds of stuff. We took an iPad, and you can decide, can they sit there and play the iPad the entire time? Or does that get to be something they use as a treat? You can take food. We took books. We would sit and read books quietly. And made for some great one-on-one time with my son. You know, some of his favorite books, and we sat there and quietly would read. We took small Lego sets. You know, I think there was a time I took like a small cookie sheet, and we would take a little Lego set that would make a car or a truck or something small. Then we'd sit there and do Legos. So it was more about having him out there with me and enjoying the experience than it being focused on hunting. And what I've seen is people make the mistake of they want a small kid to hunt like an adult. They want them to walk quietly. They want them to sit quietly. They want them to sit for long periods of time. They want them to be tolerant of the cold. You know, those are things that it's hard for an adult to do, let alone a kid. So think about those things when you're getting ready to go out. Other thing, you know, take a lot of snacks. You know, snacks make the time go by for me. They certainly make it go by for the kids. So, you know, look at that. You know, take some things that are special treats that you don't get very often, but when you're in the hunting blind, you get them. So those are a few thoughts. When I did take my son hunting, you know, one of the mistakes that I made is, for as much as I tried to make it about him and do things that wasn't all about me, I was still oftentimes wanting to get a deer. But I didn't just want to get a deer, I wanted to get a big buck. So I passed on does, I passed on small bucks, and he would be sitting there with me saying, "Dad, shoot, shoot." I 100% agree with that. But for a kid, if you never shoot something, you're never successful. And they're there to see you harvest a deer. So at some point, you need to do that. And you know, I got to a place where my son said to me, we were there for deer week, and he said, you know, "Can we call Mom and just have her come get me?" And I was so bummed because I was looking forward to having him there for deer week, even though he was a lot of work. He was small, but I was looking forward to having him there. And he wanted to go home. He actually wanted to go back to school, which at the time he hated school. So, you know, that was one of my big mistakes, was I didn't always make it about him. And, you know, things don't always have to be about the kid, but you're asking a kid a lot to ask them to go sit in a stand for hours at a time. When we finally started taking a crossbow and letting him hunt, he finally shot a deer, and he did fine with it. He was 8 years old. He was excited about it. We went and got all the guys. He shot it right at dark. We tracked it. We videoed his story. He was excited, you know, jumping up and down, excited about getting that deer.
Still getting good blood?
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
Oh, let me hear it!
yeehaw!
Yeah!
Grab him by the head. Let's see that
Look
rack.
at that! Look at that shot! That's a great shot!
Lift his head, buddy. Let's see him.
Look at that! Woo! Woohoo, Eric! Hang on, I gotta get a shot of that one too. Nice! All right.
8 point. Count them, bud. Count them off.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8.
Nice.
All right.
And you know, we all celebrated it. It was a good thing. But the next year, when I asked him if he wanted to go hunt, he said, "No, I don't think so." And I never did figure out why, but something changed in that year, and he just wasn't interested. And I decided not to push him. And it took several years before he came to me and said, "Dad, I want to go hunting again." And now he hunts with me every year. But that's another thing, is, you know, don't pressure them. If they don't want to hunt, you know, don't make them. I'm going to check my phone. I got some other notes here. You know, think about loud noises. You know, if you're gun hunting, make sure they've got hearing protection, because that's something that might upset them. Think about how long you're going to sit. You know, don't go again when it's the peak of the rut and you feel like you got to be there for hours. Go, and if they say, "I'm tired and I'm done," pack up and leave. You know, make it fun. You know, leave and stop at their favorite restaurant on the way home and let them get chicken nuggets or something. You know, make it something fun. Other thing, you know, how you expose them. You know, take them out to track a deer. Make them part of, when you get a deer, going out and retrieving it. So before they go sit, you know, get them used to going out following a blood trail, finding a dead deer, seeing you gut it, dragging it home, getting pictures, things along those lines. Include them in the pictures. You know, I see a lot of people with young kids, and that's one of the first things they do is take pictures, and those kids are excited as can be. They know you're excited and they want to be part of it. So looking at my notes, I think those are the big things, but at the core of it is make it a positive experience. Nobody, whether you're a kid or an adult, wants to go do something and have somebody nag you the whole time about what you're doing wrong. Make it a positive experience, make it something that's special, that's good quality time between the two of you, and make it so that they want to go do it again. So if you're thinking about taking your kid hunting, one other thing, consider a blind, somewhere that you can sit and you don't have to worry about the fidgeting and movement and stuff along those lines. But if you're thinking about taking your kid hunting, I definitely recommend it. I was thrilled to have my son involved early. Took my daughter when she was young. My son still hunts. My daughter doesn't have any interest in it, and that's fine. But take them out, have a good experience, create a hunting partner that you're gonna be able to hunt with for years to come. So I hope that was helpful. Thanks. Have a good one.